Welcome, everybody. It is a very sacred Sunday. This is Love Coach Scott Catamas with one of my absolute favorite human beings, Marya Stark. So, welcome, whether you're joining us live or watching the replay, and whether you're watching the replay shortly after we did this or years from now, whenever you might be seeing this. Welcome. And a reminder that this is a non-denominational show, but we can make any moment, any day, any experience sacred by choosing to see the divine in what we do. That's, I think, one of the things that I love about Marya Stark is that she brings the sacred to her communications, her music, her workshops, her teachings, her conversations. And I've been blessed to experience her over 10 years now in all those different ways, whether it's just having lunch with her or listening to her music or doing a show like this. So if you are not familiar with Marya Stark, drop in, relax, because you're in for a treat. And I just love sharing sacred space with you, Marya.
I love being here, Scott. It's such a precious connection that we've had all of these years. It's wonderful to be here on this show again. And yeah, just delighting in how I came to know Scott, which was getting to sit in one of his workshops. And I had already been kind of studying compassionate communication, but I came to this beautiful event that was happening at our friend's house, and there he was giving his beautiful gift, and I was so just blown away that I had to befriend you and we just dove right in. I was like, well, I need to know everything, and please just embrace me in this knowledge. And it has been such a influence in how I view the world, in my worldview, in my relationships, and how I approach teaching and self-care and just everything. I feel like the work that we did together in the context of compassionate communication and cultivating a literacy of emotions and values. I remember being at your house one time for like 5 days after a workshop, and I just spent time in the guest room for hours every day going through this digestion and harvest of all of these challenging experiences of my life through some of the journaling practices. I just dove in, and then we got to chat about it in the afternoon. And I feel like I went through such a life level jump just in that portal with you. I'll never forget it.
One of my wonderful memories, and I don't have it right here. I wish I could pull it up, but as fate would have it, when I met Marya, someone happened to snap a picture just because it was, I guess, somebody taking pictures of me at the workshop. And once a year, that picture shows up on my Facebook memories. And it's really cool because it happens to be a picture of us kind of connecting for the very first time. It's kind of cool that happened to get like captured in reality.
Yeah,
So
it's not
welcome.
very often you get
No,
to
I
have
mean,
a moment. You're like, wow, it's on forever. It's immortalized, that moment.
that moment, right? And I just, wow, a soul family member, which clearly you are. So welcome to everybody. And as always, this is going to be what I like about my Sacred Sunday show is it's very participatory. So we want to hear from those of you in the Zoom room. And if you're on Facebook, I'll periodically, while Marya is singing or playing or talking, I'll check and see what's going on Facebook. So your thoughts, your comments, and your questions are really welcome. And the focus is all about creative expression. Marya is a very multidisciplinary artist. And I wanted to tie it a little bit in that this is International Peace Weekend. And so all the shows I've been doing on Friday night and last night have been around peace. But I haven't focused it on just like, yes, we all want world peace. Yes, stop nuclear weapons, obviously. But how do we bring peace into our daily life? That's really what I've been focusing on with everybody this weekend. And so as you share today, and I'm going to turn it over to you for an opening song or meditation, let's just make that our theme. How do we create peace in our day-to-day life?
Thank you so much. Well, I'd love to just take us into a brief meditation and Taking a few deep breaths in together with that prayer in mind, holding the flame of peace at the center. And just locating ourselves right in the center of our heart. Noticing sensations that are rising in the space. And I invite us all to take a gentle tone to connect to the center of our instrument, this eternal tone that connects to the edges of the known and the unknown of our awareness, and taking that deep breath in together. And a gentle hum to the heart. Bringing our attention and our awareness to this beautiful instrument, a bridge between the seen and the unseen, our own body, breath, heartbeat, interconnected to everything there ever was and ever will be. In this sound, and opening ourselves as a vessel of this peace. What could it be? How could peace move through me, within and around me? Inviting a tone of peace to come in and warm the body temple. Taking that deep breath in together. I just want to invite us to move our body a bit. Really acknowledging the co-creative play that is alive in this beautiful incarnation, where our body gets to interact with light and sound and breath and intention and our imagination and the receptive and the expressive, and just bringing awareness to the top of the head, through the central channel all the way down to the root, the base of the spine, and noticing this beautiful pole of light that extends from the top of our being to the bottom. That is truly a vessel, an opening to receive and to express. And in that receptiveness, we invite another tone in again that connects us to the great creative life force that moves through all, to move through us, and bringing that through our voice and our breath, taking that breath in. And bringing that hum through this whole channel that we are. And with these three tones, we extend this prayer that we may understand a little bit more today and ongoing, how we get to participate in peace, bringing peace inside of us and peace within and around us. And just feeling into the continuing pulsing of your body instrument, your body temple. I want to share this first song, this opening song, to celebrate the body temple, to celebrate the receptive to the creative life force. Okay. Yeah. the chalice vessel to receive the muse's pour. My heart is ever burning with the flame of my true song. My dance, it is emerging as an answer to the call. Presence, my sanctuary, pleasure, my sacrament. This movement emanating from the wells of reverence, an ancient wonder guiding towards my shining compass star, where all I give's returning in an overflow of awe. I am the vast reunion of the heavens and the earth. I am the vase of power through which spirit flows her mirth. I am the cherished daughter of the elemental poem. My body is a temple, great mystery comes home, and I pray with every step I take, praise with every move I make, worship in the holy temple, body all around me. I pray with every step I give, praise with every move I live, merging with the holy temple, body from within. My body is a temple, my eyes the sacred doors, my womb the chalice vessel to receive the muse's pour. My heart is ever burning with the flame of my true song. My dance, it is emerging as an answer to the call. Presence, my sanctuary, pleasure, my sacrament. This movement emanating from the wells of reverence, an ancient wonder guiding towards my shining compass star, where all I give's returning in an overflow of awe. I am the vast reunion of the heavens and the earth. I am the vase of power through which spirit flows her mirth. I am the cherished daughter of the elemental poem. My body is a temple, great mystery comes home, and I pray with every step I take, praise with every move I make, worship in the holy temple, body all around me. I pray with every step I give, praise with every move I live, merging with the holy temple, body from within. I pray with every step I take, praise with every move I make, worship in the holy body all around me. I pray with every step I give, praise with every move I live, merging with the holy temple, body from within.
That was just so exquisite.
Thank you.
I want to be Marya Stark in my next life.
Okay, there's a ritual for that.
Good. I mean, of course, obviously you're blessed with a beautiful voice, but it's the way that you just embrace life, and I could just feel your experience, or imagine your experience as you are doing such beautiful validation of really honoring your body temple. And it's so important, Marya, because almost everyone I work with as a coach is struggling with their body temple. You know, they're struggling with shame. They're struggling with, I'm too fat, I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too that, or I'm not enough this, I'm not enough that. You know, and just that honoring of life and your body temple and your being, and that invocation, that song. It's like, gosh, heaven on earth is when we all are living in that reality.
Yeah, it is I want to just honor my sister Sophia Tom, who inspired that song. I was participating in one of her beautiful workshops in her school, Body Temple Arts, and that was the flame that we were all tending for the weekend, and it really evoked that in me as well, that sense of, I feel you, I feel like our so much apart, for me at least, in embracing the paradox of my own incarnation, is managing the reality of having a body and still being part of this kind of realm where we're connected to the unseen, this idea that like, oh, things are a projection, we're living in kind of like a reality that's pulsing in and out of existence all the time. And there's some solace that can be found. I can take refuge in, oh yeah, this is a dream, oh yeah, this is a impermanent, it's always changing, and it's kind of like projection of my mind. And yet here I am having the lived experience of very temporal, earth-based processes, and some of them are challenging, and some of the cultural trances that arise around enoughness and the body, and what we're supposed to be, and what success looks like, and what I'm supposed to be. It is this deep complexity, and I know for myself, the more I tend to being with the nuances of that conversation inside of me, the more settled I become in my own body and my own creative process. And so this song for me was a declaration of that, like, wow, if I am in co-creation as a primary source of creativity in my life, in collaboration with the big creative, the big Maha Muse, what would it be like to really be actively, with as much extra attention as possible, tending my body as such, with that level of reverence of like, oh yeah, this is the great creation, and here's my instrument, and what do we get to do together?
Nancy, who's in our Zoom room, wrote, wow, that was beautiful. The tones made me cry. I reimagined my body as a temple. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then Joyce, welcome. Joyce is watching on Facebook. And Joyce, thank you for sharing this out. Joyce is always really good about that. She sends lots of love and hearts. And Davida writes, thank you for reminding me of who I truly am. So you'll see me periodically checking the different Facebook messages, and we do want to hear from people. Matthew just wrote, lovely song, beautiful thoughts.
Thank you, Matthew.
So I want to, talking about peace, Marya is obviously a brilliant musical artist, but she's also a wonderful, compassionate communicator and teacher. And I want to go right to something that's just, I'm in so much sadness about. That is, I've come to the painful realization that our country is in a civil war. We're in a civil war, and it's a social media civil war, but there are radically different views on vaccination. Now, we're not going to get into a conversation about the science. We're definitely not going to get into pro or anti. But what I do want to do is talk about, all right, how do we have peace? How do we create peace when we have friends, loved ones that are adamantly on both sides of that coin?
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's a real thing. And just like in, when we think of Civil War, most of us think of the American Civil War, where North versus South, and all of a sudden people were killing their cousins and fighting against people that look like, it's harder when it's the people that speak the same language and are in the same country. That's a civil war. There's a civil war now going on within families, within couples, within people who are adamant, of course we have to get vaccinated, and people that are equally adamant, there's no way I'm putting that into my body. So Marya, do you have any thoughts about how do we create peace and as peacekeepers and way showers, try not to buy into the civil war?
Yeah. Well, I hear your sadness around that and the reckoning of, oh, is this, one of the wars that was prophesized, that it would be a war, like a psychological war amongst the people.
Yeah.
I had that similar realization a little while ago, and was equally saddened to recognize the war that was happening within myself, even with my connections with so many beloveds that were sharing really interesting cases for either side, and managing my own being of reflecting around, wow, these are so many, it's been a, what I think right now is that we're in such a catalyst because of the amount of stress that's going on and amount of perspective taking that's happening, whereas maybe in previous cycles the level of perspective taking wasn't as life or death in intensive, but there's so much, oh, this is a life or death situation. And so the perspective taking that's happening, and I recognize that there's a devotion to learning and exploring that's happening in a new way, which I find really interesting. And I'm curious where that will ultimately lead years from now. Now, in the time being, because there's also, I think, the filter of a lot of hijacking of deep fear and this kind of stress response, it's sometimes the view can get kind of narrow. And then there's just some information that is probably wrong. And we don't really know what the information that's just like, oh, this is actually false. And people have an idea that they know which information is false. So I've been currently meditating on the story of the blind men and the elephant. Do you know this one, Scott?
Oh, right. Yes, each person seeing it from a different
Right.
touch.
So there's the blind men and the elephant. There were 6 men taken to see an elephant. They were all blind. None of them have seen an elephant before, and they were each touching a different part of the elephant. And one said, "Well, it's kind of like a snake," because he had the nose. And the other guy at the tail is like, "No, no, no, it's not like a snake. It's like a rope." See, and he's describing the rope. And the guy touching the leg, he's like, "Definitely not a rope, you guys. I don't know what you guys are talking about. This is like a trunk of a tree." And the guy touching the ear is like, "No, no, no, you guys are missing it. This is like a fan." And the guy with the tusk is like, "Oh, a fan? What are you talking about? This is definitely a spear. It's a spear." And they're also certain of what they're seeing. And yet none of them have seen the entire elephant. Mm-hmm. And I rest in that at this time, knowing that I'm not seeing the whole elephant. I'm not seeing the whole picture. And it takes time, I think, with pieces, this kind of thing that's happening, to see a whole picture. Again, it's one of those things of like, oh, we're going to get a lot more information a decade from now around what's happening. And so the way that I create peace with myself in that is to acknowledge, wow, the ones who are fighting likely have a positive intent, likely have something that they are trying to protect wholeheartedly. Yeah. And the thing that is trying to be protected, then we've talked about this in communication, it's like the values that are being cherished and protected are likely really complementary. And yet the strategies and the views based on personal orientation are vastly different. And as I explore ongoing diving into like spiral dynamics or integral theory or understanding like developmental psychology, it's like, oh, well, what's the whole spectrum of values that are really important to consider what's going on, and how can I relate to the positive intent of those values and the parts of the the personality that are coming to protect that wholeheartedly with myself too. When I get into that like strong stance, like if I can feel my strength or fire coming in, it's like, wow, what am I really protecting? And that's been helping me stay in open orientation to all of the information that's happening, while also resting in the tone of wisdom within my own body, that like I don't see the whole elephant, and there's going to be more information that continues to arrive.
Wow. You just stated that so perfectly. And I just want to emphasize is like when we are talking with someone who has a adamantly different belief, especially about this particular thing, we all want safety, we all want health, and we all want personal freedom. And those seem to be the primary driving values on both sides of how to manage the pandemic, how to manage our health. And so if we can just remember, we all want the same thing. We just have really different strategies. And then the other thing that you said is like, none of us know what the real truth is. Certainly none of us are able to see the entire or touch the entire elephant. And, you said, we'll have a lot more information in 10 years, and that's true. And we may not ever have all the information. I mean, we still don't know who killed John Kennedy. Right. We still don't really know what happened on 9/11 20 years later. I've been waiting for the big reveal, right, for both of those events, which were landmark world-changing events. And we still haven't gotten the full truth in a mainstream, this is what happened way. And it's interesting with archetypal events, they always are played out in a way where we really never know what the truth is. Right. We don't know what the truth is about Jesus, if he ever even lived, if it was a myth, but there's billions of people that have strong opinions about it, right? And strong beliefs and a lot of faith around it. And it's like that with all the archetypal events. And we are in an archetypal event with this pandemic.
Absolutely. And it is, it's one of those things that when I think about, again, the piece that I was saying about how stress can be enhancing at times, and it can be a catalyst for incredible growth and transformation of the individual and the collective. And it's hard because I also know that stress can really be deteriorating, especially over a long period of time. And that's what makes this particular chapter disconcerting. It's like, and it's provocative to feel like, oh, wow, we're in this extended period of disorientation and stress and fighting and core connectivity threatened with our closest beloveds, and like this kind of primal safety. So over a period of time, that can be wearing, absolutely. And I can sense so many of us worn down. And in my own practice, it's an ongoing journey to embrace, like, oh, what is the creative tension that's happening? What's the creative opportunity of chaos as one who's a devotee to compassion and peace? And this was the kind of the topic that we brought up for today. It's like, oh, creativity in a time of chaos, creativity in a time of the unknown and disorganization, and what does it mean to continue to recommit to abiding in this place of unknown and befriending the unknown and befriending the mystery. I think this is a part of it too. It's like the unknown can be so scary, and so it can be very it can bring up those mental images of worst case scenario, worst fear. And I find that for myself as a peacekeeper, one of the covenants and commitments I've had is to befriend the unknown, to embrace the unknown as actually the place where all of the blessings have come into my life. The unknown is a place where everything that I love has arisen from. And it's not just the place where everything terrifying happens. it's it's the womb, it's the pregnant unknown, and so and that's a daily recommitting, that's a daily balancing on that point of okay, taking refuge in mystery, taking refuge in open possibility, and recommitting to my own creative participation in that. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful wisdom, beautiful. I'm going to read a couple comments and then offer a thought and then ask you a question.
Sure.
Matthew in our Zoom room writes, we can create, facilitate, encourage peace within ourselves and within our relationships and throughout the human collective interconnectedness. May it be so. That's the work.
Thank you.
That's the work. Yeah. Julie writes, thank you, Marya, for your wisdom in the way that you express yourself. Yeah, that's true. I love the quote from Einstein, and I'm paraphrasing, that the true measure of intelligence is how quickly we can change our beliefs. Coming from like the smartest guy of the century, right? And I just want to say that again, I think a big part of creating peace is, you know, we've all heard variations of would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? Would you rather have a happy wife or be, you know, fight with your wife kind of a thing? And that's another variation of that. And again, bringing it into peace, it's like, okay, always looking at where am I right now? Am I collecting evidence to support my belief? Am I in some level of self-righteousness? Am I believing that I'm smarter or I know more or I'm right and the other person is wrong? Really just like learning how to look at that and to live in that awareness is a really important part, I believe, for creating peace.
Yeah, I was feeling that same pulse too of the case that we build, the evidence that we collect, and the part of us who does that, who has positive intent, right? The builder, the inner lawyer, you know?
Yeah, right.
You're like, okay, we're following the thread. Like that part of our psyche has positive intent. Yeah. It has something that it wants to reveal to us as true, and to create congruence within ourselves, to be able to relax our system, and so just to be, I'm, you know, so loving with that part of ourselves who's building cases, and sometimes the cases points to something that maybe is important to reflect on, and then just sometimes the cases we build are like a sand mandala, you know, you like a strong wind comes and blows it all away.
You know, I'm reminded of an experience I had with my wife when she was still alive. We were in Thailand on a retreat, and we're like totally relaxed, and we're sipping Thai coconuts. And we got into this little silly debate. It wasn't an argument because we were pretty relaxed, but this silly debate over who had the better coconut.
That's amazing.
And Suji's point was that she had me taste hers, and we agreed that hers tasted better. So clearly she had the better coconut. However, after we had sipped our coconuts, I could easily scoop out the coconut, where she had to dig in to get her coconut. So clearly I had the superior coconut. So as we're kind of laughing over this, a truth is revealed. What emerged was we both, for the very first time, acknowledged to the other that we've always believed we were smarter than the other one, right? And we were both shocked to learn that the other one thought they were smarter than ourselves, right?
Right.
But we were relaxed. It was like, oh my God, isn't that hilarious? We both think we're smarter. And so we established in that wonderful moment the Superior Coconut Award. And what that was whenever one of us would notice that we were dropping into being, as you said, being prosecutorial or our inner lawyer, that we were dropping into that polarization of right, wrong, was that who's going to win the Superior Coconut now, right? And it became a wonderful, playful way for us just to call out when we were falling into that pit of right, wrong.
I love that. The Superior Coconut Award, the SCA.
Yeah. I haven't thought of that story in a while. So, a couple comments, and then I got a question for you. Bonnie writes, if you have a choice between being right and being kind, always choose to be kind. And she says that's a common quote from Wayne Dyer. God bless Wayne. Matthew Baker wrote, I believe that some keys to bring about peace are curiosity, compassion, and connection. I believe that this is the snake oil cure-all for everything that ails the human condition. Interesting. I like that, other than calling it the snake oil.
What does that mean? The snake oil.
Yeah, I think, well, and it's true, because he's actually saying that this is the balm. I would say the healing balm. The snake oil has a tendency to also be perceived as a bullshit medicine.
Sure.
Right. Back in the 1800s, they were selling snake oil that would save everything. So I like what you're saying, but let's just say this is the healing balm and the true cure-all for everything. Compassion, curiosity, connection. Let's make that shift.
That's so funny. Unless they mean that it's the bullshit medicine. Do you know?
No, he's Matthew's laughing. He's laughing. And he's also going to adopt the Superior Coconut Award, so that's good.
Okay, delete snake oil.
Delete snake oil. Okay.
You know, some people do think that this frame of going about things that we're going about at Scott is some bullshit medicine that and that's kind of, I think, the thing that is really tricky about this whole situation is that I know that for myself, when I present this world bridging, and you and I share this, we're gonna be the ones who build the bridge, of compassion, and we're to keep the parents together, keep everyone together. This kind of, and I know, as I've spoken to some people who are invigorated by no, we got to draw a line in the sand around what is cool and what's not okay, and there's a potency in that, and I think that's, for me, where I keep coming back to this trickiness of the where healthy boundaries come into play in this conversation, where it's boundaries are also part of a healthy expression of protection in red, and that the result is that people go away sometimes with boundaries, as I read in that comment in our Facebook. It's sometimes you make a healthy boundary and then some people exit your life, and there are boundaries being made that are very strong, and I keep coming home to, am I worshiping upset as I create this boundary? Am I reinforcing this hologram of divide? And I think that there's some of the mythos that is arising right now that I keep kind of questioning. It's there's two timelines coming, and it's this separation of two worlds, and there's gonna live in these two opposite worlds. And I've been, again, in my world bridger heart being is that a permanent display of multiple worlds? Is that something that just happens sometimes in conversations? Is it sometimes they're on top of each other? Like what does it mean to have a multi-dimensional experience of an incarnation, and what's beyond that, and what more is possible? Like I think there's a lot of dream images coming up from the bass mind in order to meaning make and wrap a congruent understanding around what's happening. And some of these mythos that I observe happening are really mythically charged with like this fight duel thing. And I've just been processing like, how is that reflective of some of my own developmental trauma? How is that this other, what else is that an expression of in my psyche if I'm committed to exploring my life as a dream, if I'm committed to exploring participating in an embodied way in something that is malleable?
That everything you just said was so rich. Now we just shifted. You just shifted us into a higher gear, because I absolutely believe this is a dream world, and that doesn't mean la-di-da, we don't care. It's just all a dream, but it is a dream world, and there's a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream, and we have our individual dream that we're having, that where we're working out our own personal experience of reality, and learning to love ourselves and learning to love each other through our dream. There is then variations of the collective dream, family, epigenetics, and then cultural. I mean, there's so many levels to it all. And I do believe absolutely we are living in a multidimensional reality. And I've experienced that. I have been blessed to have non-drug induced experiences of my multidimensional self. So it's an experience I've had. It's kind of like if someone's been to England, they say, yeah, I've actually been to England. It's not just a myth that there really is a country, and I've been there. And so within this dream reality, within this multidimensional reality, it is a powerful time. And within the collective consciousness, there is oh wow, is this the end of the world? Is this Armageddon? Is this, clearly we are heading for massive change. We experience it through climate change, and we experience it through biological change. And most of us are aware of, whoa, this is big time stuff. This is a big time decade, or however long it's going to be. So bringing all that back to creating peace, first and foremost, so important for us all to have a practice. All have it, whether it's yoga, meditation, martial arts, playing a musical instrument, a religious practice, to have a practice that helps us to get calm and centered and connected to the divine, whatever you want to call the divine, connected to life. So all of that being said, I want to ask you about your personal practice. And then I believe you have some wonderful offerings that help people to connect to creative practice.
Thank you, Scott. Some of my personal practices, I belong to an amazing Sangha right now where we do weekly meditations together, and I have a couple of different support communities. So a big practice is to stay connected with like-minded folks who are practicing together so we can continue and train with each other in congruence with our shared values around staying connected to our temple body. And so some of my practices for that include qigong, meditation. Some of my practices right now are and one of my favorite practices to share are tuning and toning and using the voice as a way to ground into my body, as a way to stay connected to kind of what I was sharing before, like the big Maha Muse, life force energy, the big creative. And using my voice also as a vehicle for self-knowledge and for attuning to the different layers of my subtle body. and as much as possible, spending time outside and enjoying the pleasures of just having a body, being able to be in my sensory system. Those are some of my favorite practices currently. And of course, creating and creativity is an ongoing mirror for me in terms of my relationship with my shadow, my relationship with my energy, my relationship with my ideas of how things are supposed to be, and the humbleness of letting go of old ideas and renewing my own relationship to what is. I feel like just being in a consistent relationship with songwriting and making albums and producing art helps me so much. Again, having a vehicle and a method for shadow work and integration and intimacy with myself. So those are some of the things that I love to share with others. My background is in expressive arts therapy, music therapy, and energetic medicine, and integrative self activation, evolution of soul through expression. And so some of the things that I've got coming up, which I'm so excited about, starting on Tuesday, I'm going to have just a 3-day journey called Treasures of the Womb, where I'm going to be going over some of my core practices of vocal alchemy, connecting with the lower cauldron, the womb, the dantian, as a source of resource for ourselves, for our energy to flourish, and also working with creative expression, creative writing as a way to connect deeper with our subconscious, connect deeper with our future self, connect with our life experiences that maybe we're still holding on to in some way, and it's still creating a contraction in our subtle body that is looping us in a way that's creating discomfort or not allowing us to be fully landed in our body, and working with creative process as a way to assimilate complex experiences and free up that energy so we actually have more of our energetic body online. So in those 3 days, we're going to be in this empowerment experience to create this container of how do we get into a practice. It's going to be really exciting. It's just a taste of the essence of my work. So this is for leaders. This is for women primarily, although if you are not a female gendered being and you want to sign up for this course and just observe, you're totally more than welcome. This isn't but it is Treasures of the Womb, and most of my work is oriented towards women. And what this is an anchoring into our vessel as a vessel for the muse, as a vessel for divinity to come be expressed through us and with us. And so this is going to be a really powerful experience of, wow, how do we claim that? How do we anchor into that for the benefit of all beings? And what this is to lead into what I am going to be holding for 9 months, which is a course called Voice of My Womb, the Rose Petal Path. And this is for women, for those who identify as women. And this is a 9-month container, Sangha, for a complete rebirth of ourselves in our creativity, in our leadership, in our legacy. Because what I know for myself as a creative is that I need support, and I love to have a place to really dive deep with others in excavating the parts of self that maybe got hooked into different experiences, are still lingering in other times. We're going to be going through deep rites of passage work in Voice of My Womb to locate ourselves and come into a really strong practice of embodiment, creative expression, consistent structure around creativity, so that we can actually use this knowledge and training to use our voice, get really comfortable with singing, get comfortable with expressing ourselves, being seen, being known, sharing our gifts with the world. Because what I believe wholeheartedly is that there is a balancing that is available for more and more women to come into their full potency of their creative life force energy. So this is the 9-month journey that starts in October, Voice of My Womb. This is the first time I'm doing it for 9 months too. I've done 7 sessions of this in 3 months, and we get so deep, and it's been so fun to do 3 months of Voice of My Womb. And always at the end of 3 months, we're all like, oh my God, we're just getting started. We want to go further. So this is the 9-month container so that women can really experience having a complete rebirth, a complete gestation of this kind of transformation. So on the other side, my hope is that women who come through this journey are so invigorated and inspired and feel confident and held and supported to come forward in the world with their gifts at a whole completely new level.
Beautiful. So I want to let people know how to get there.
Yeah.
Matthew is feeling sad that he's not a woman and that he would love to take the course.
Oh.
And I get kind of a similar feeling too. Matthew writes, Treasures of the Womb sounds exciting and amazing. Makes me wish I was a woman. Again, I'm with you there, Matthew. I'm with you. So the way you get there is go to templeofthemuse.com. That's Marya's primary website, templeofthemuse.com. And then you can just click on Voice of My Womb, and that will take you. Or you can also go to where you can learn about the Treasures of the Womb, which is the 3-day program.
Right, and people can go to offerings to find the Treasures of the Womb portal.
Okay, cool.
And again, that's starting. We can type it in right here into the chat box. These two places, because Treasures of the Womb were happening on Tuesday, and if you come, you get a free ticket for a friend to come with you. So that's Treasures of the Womb right there.
Right there, perfect. And I'll also put it into Facebook.
Awesome.
I want to read a couple of comments, and then I have another question for you. And thank you. Nancy wrote a lot just about, I'm not going to read it all, but about the challenge of different perspectives about what's best and the right way to go with this whole COVID thing. So thank you for that, Nancy. James wrote, my dreams have been about the end of the world, but I don't necessarily experience that in my recent life. I am experiencing a reality shift. People, places, and things from my past have been showing up in very synchronistic ways, very different from before. Does anyone relate? So I'd love to hear what people have to say about that, and certainly Marya. Matthew wrote, through active self-guided meditation, I believe we can go deep through our inner selves and connect the collective interconnectedness into healing intention and forgiveness, letting go and love and life energy help facilitate and expand peace. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Makes me want to share this song.
I would love that.
Thinking about the end of the world.
Oh, that's interesting, because one of our other, James wrote about having dreams about end of the world and Armageddon. So, all right, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I shared this song on Saturday Night Alive last week, but it feels appropriate today, as you know, one of my favorite practices in a lot of the Buddhist meditations. It's taking refuge in impermanence. It's this constant meditation on death, that rather it's our big death, a final return of the self that we know ourselves to be now, or if it's death of an identity shell that we crack out of, which can also feel intense, as we know, as we're doing more self-integration work, we go through these little deaths. And as I've been feeling into the possibility of wow, the end of the world, I'm reminded of the end of what world? The end of one world is the beginning of another. And there is a grief at any time of the end of the world, or there's like a grief I feel of like, wow, did I incarnate in planet Earth to experience an apocalypse, to experience like extinction, or being on the verge of extinction, and what growth is there here for me if that's the case? And is that what's happening? And what opportunities are in relating to death in a new way, and relating to the unknown. You know, there is still so much unknown, and so I continue to abide in the surrender of what I believe to be true, and into, wow, what else is possible? and what is the end of something is the beginning of another. And I don't know what that looks like yet. But this song was written from that place of, wow, I was in a personal crucible of the death of what I believed were the most important things to me at the time, and kind of the surrender of the one who was going to save the world. I was really on that Messiah complex, like, oh, I'm, in my leadership, I'm going to be the one to build all of the bridges with all of the internal civil wars that are happening amongst the people, because I can bring people back into the unified remembrance of the great creative symphony of all, which we're all a part of. It's like very alive. And I was having this moment, dark night of the soul, of like, oh yeah, and what if it doesn't work the way that I wanted it to, the way that I had an attached identity towards, and what would I do then? Would anything really change? Would I still expand into, wow, all of the stars die, I'm gonna die, everyone I know and love is going to go through the great initiation of death. And here we are, all facing that together in a way that I haven't experienced before. And again, I do believe that collectively we are part of one organism, that we're part of one consciousness, and we're also individuated as our individual experiences that then get to share information with other parts of this greater organism. And we're all going through this reckoning right now. And so I'm in a fascinated opening around that at this time, and this song sort of speaks to the wonder that's still available and in the unknown, and just joining my voice with the song that's singing between the stars at the moment. But none of them bring me closer to the truth. I have pulled cards from the deck to read my soul in scriptures, but the pictures couldn't show me what to do. It's been a long night. I'm just a fragile sword from stone, and it was heavy, heavy. I've carved flutes from hollow bones, and now I'm ready, ready to mourn the death of stars. Watch them go out with a baying, and I'll sing every song that was shown in between. Cracks at the sound of your name, but as I speak, so does the flame. I have pulled a sword from stone, and it was heavy, heavy. I've carved flutes from hollow bones, and now I'm ready to mourn the death of stars. Watch them go out with a baying. I'll sing every song that was shown in between. In between. In between. In between. It's been a
you so much. God, I love your music.
Thanks, Scott.
So, I do want to read a few more comments. Of course, lots of people writing about how beautiful that song was, so that's flooding in. Joyce Glasgow writes, I'm reminding myself each day to follow the mantra that I created for myself. Be kind, be thankful, be thoughtful. Beautiful. And she then just wrote a beautiful, peaceful song. Roger, I'm not going to read his whole comment, but Roger just reminded, no matter what side of the vaccination argument or debate we might be on, there's so many things we all can do to improve our health, and that there's not enough conversation about that. All the things that we can do to just build our immune system. That's definitely a really good point. So thank you for that, Roger. And Bonnie just wrote a beautiful song. Thank you so much. Matthew writes, death of the conditioning and programming and attachments and the enmeshments in our perception of our identity and beliefs of how the world should be can be painful, but it is ultimately a beautiful growth and awakening. That's kind of part of what I heard in your song as well.
Yeah, it's this piece of making peace with death and still of death and the unknown. Making peace, mourn the death of stars, watch them go out with a bang, sing every song that they've shown in between. Like, we're still alive, you know, it's still happening. The earth is still fertile, right?
Oh, the earth is fine. You know, I have sadness for the species that are going extinct. That's really sad.
Yeah.
But
I'm fond of my own kind.
You know, the whole thing that if you take a look at the history of the earth, like if you took the entire length of time that this planet has been here, and you scaled it to a year, right, a 365-day year, Homo sapiens have been on the planet in the last 11 minutes of December 31st.
Wow.
That's how minuscule our time on this planet is. If you look at how old the planet is and how many phases and evolutions the planet's gone through, and we are in a sixth extinction level exists. This is the sixth time there's been a big extinction of certain species and then new species evolving. You know, one other thing, and I won't go too long into it because I talk about it sometimes, but as you know, Mario, when my wife died, the way it played out was I got to experience the beauty of death. Because her particular death, the way that it played out, was not tragic. I miss her terribly still, but those of us in the room with her could feel her liberation, could feel just how good it felt for her to be liberated from the body.
Yeah, it's so precious, this death gate, and again, it's just as precious as birth. And I think that for myself as an ongoing practice in humility is, you know, I've been playing with the one. I was like, oh, was I born to make a difference? You know, was I born on planet Earth to help be part of the team New Earth Builder? You know,
yes, that's part of it.
Of course. And you know, what dies in order for the New Earth to be built, and like what is it to stand at the gate as a death doula, holding the flame for what's to come, that's still in the unknown, that's still in the dreaming. And does it happen on this planet? Does it happen on another planet? Does it happen on, you know, and not knowing, like the big, I don't know. I like to dream. I have some visions. I have some story. I like to tell some good stories about it. and feel that in my body, you know, and like really get to be in the practice of what more is possible and opening beyond the the contraction that's happening, and also riding the contractions that happen that are primal, with as much self-love and compassion as possible.
Beautifully described.
Mm-hmm.
We're winding down, but just kind of on what you were just saying, one last thought, we'll turn back to you, is that it's an old one, but I love the analogy of the caterpillar and the butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
And, caterpillars eat too much. They have a voracious appetite, and they literally eat so much that then their body says, this is it, it's too much.
Mm-hmm.
And as the caterpillar is dying, obviously the caterpillar is experiencing death and all the discomfort that comes with death. And while that's happening, inside the dying caterpillar are these imaginal cells.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the imaginal cells are attracted to each other and they're magnetized to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then they feed off the goo, that's the soup that's left of the caterpillar, still not knowing what's going to happen. But if enough of those imaginal cells find each other, then the butterfly emerges. And how can a caterpillar ever possibly imagine becoming a butterfly?
Mm-hmm.
But the imaginal cells on some level know it. And each imaginal cell, being a cell, has its purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so you, Marya, are an imaginal cell, as am I, and Matthew, and Nancy, and Bonnie, and all of the people listening. We're all imaginal cells.
Mm-hmm.
And we are finding each other. Obviously, that's very much what we're doing as we build our new tribe, as we build our communities. We are finding each other. And we will fly into whatever the next reality is, whether it's on this planet or parallel Earth or a multidimensional universe.
Mm-hmm. I love this imaginal cell, and just as you're saying, they feed off the soup, it makes me laugh. I was like, oh, how do we get to become really good cooks of the soup of disintegration?
Right.
I was like, let's just have, what flavors can we add into here?
I love that.
Caterpillar soup chef. That's my new hat.
I love that. There's a song for you.
There we go.
Or one of your wonderful Marya Stark stories. Matthew writes, something I know without a doubt is that there is a lot more that I don't know than that I do know. And yes, absolutely. And curiosity and just accepting we know this little itty bitty part of the whole story. Marya.
Yes, Scott? Hello? Uh-oh. He disappeared for a moment. Curious if you can still hear me out there, if I'm the one who froze. If you can hear me, let me know, please. Oh, there you are, Scott. You're back.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if it was you that froze or me that froze, but there was a freeze.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome back.
Hi, here we are.
All right, it's 11:11. How would you like to close? Any final thoughts or a final song?
Maybe one final song. This is a song called Rose Lineage. And Rose Lineage is a song that for me is the great embrace of this mystery of life and death again. And as I am consistently attuning to, balancing into the possibilities of this new, the new next unknown, I connect to the beauty of the wild and the natural cycles that they go through these cycles. So Lineage of the Rose is that song that is attuning to the consistent flame in the prayer of these I'm going to say the ruby codes. and for me, that means it's a connection to passion and desire and this invigorating life force energy that is continuing to flow. It's continuing to beat in our hearts and in our blood and in our wombs and as a part of these gates of life and death. And so this song about the rose is really surrendering into the rose that blooms when she's ready. And it really connects for me to this time that we're in, of the creative tension of unknown. And we want this next thing to happen. And I, in the same prayer of the butterfly, that it's like in the soup, it's just going through its transformation. Similarly, a rose goes through its holding process, and it blooms in its own time. And so what can I do as a creative to continue to tend to the soils, to continue to nurture the roots? And so this song is a dedication again also to the restoration and rebalancing of the womb rhythm, to the rhythm of the planet, and to the womb of the earth, and is the core treasure of the womb for me in terms of my art and song. And I dedicate this to the women who are coming to join me for Treasures of the Womb and for the Rose Petal Path. I send this out to all of our lineages and to our hearts and to our creative essence, that may we be restored and return to the fragrance over and over again, to bring that bliss and that pleasure back to our mind, so we can stay fertile and open in our orientation to what's possible.
Magdalene daughters, lineage of the scarlet cords, lineage of the visions, they brought her back to the heart, lineage of the rose blooms when she's ready, when she's ready, and not a moment too soon. I am but maiden diamond in the rough, painting wings of satin, blushing petals, temples tender to the touch. I let you in, I let you in. I am blossoming slowly to the light. I'm remembering all of the phrases, sunlight, language, dew, mist in the night, flowering into poems for the ages. I am rose mother in full bloom, Scripted ruby fire emblazoned, petals fall slowly by the moonlight, drinking the wisdom of all that was tasted. I am potpourri danced upon the earth. Holy death takes nothing from my beauty. I am ground into the rosary beads. Come and sing your prayers over me. Come, sing your prayers over me. A rose blooms. A rose blooms. Lineage of the grandmothers, lineage of the velvet prose, lineage of the crimson waters, lineage of the rose, lineage of the Magdalene daughters, lineage of the scarlet coats, lineage of the visions they brought her back to the heart. A rose blooms when she's ready. When she's ready. Not a moment too soon.
Mm. Mm. Someday I want to do a show with you where you describe your understanding of all those different lineages. I mean, usually I want to know about the lineage. Oh, I really want to know about that lineage.
Ooh,
So
Yeah.
that definitely would be a good one.
that'd be fun. I would love to share about that. Thank
That'll
you
be
all so much for the love and those in the comments about that song. Yeah, about the lineage of the rose and lineage of this feminine magic. You know, just shortly, it's that. You know, I studied so much like beautiful mystical traditions that were really intact, and yet for me they were missing a certain connection to the feminine grace and cycles of birth and death in the way that part of my heart was longing for. And so as I connected with the rose and some of these other qualities of just looking back into my own lineage and connecting to the mythopoetic of what was possible, there is a lot to be discovered in that path. And I definitely go over that in my work and in the rose petal path and voice of my womb. And so that's the heartbeat of what's happening in there. Mm-hmm.
Well, a reminder to go to Temple of the Muse.
Mm-hmm.
That's her website, templeofthemuse.com. Welcome Charity all the way from Oxfordshire, UK. George Noble, thank you very much looking at that particular Facebook group. Thank you everybody in our Zoom room. Blessings to all of you who watched the replay. And I think I'll close with this wonderful comment from Dia, who's one of our regulars. She writes, Marya, you are the quintessential woman. We are also blessed to have you on our precious planet at this time. And she loves you.
Thank you so much, Dia.
You're right. You are just a remarkable woman, and it's such a blessing to have you with us. Thank you so much, Marya.
Thank you, Scott. It's so wonderful to be here with you and get to share. Thank you all, everyone for being here, for your generous listening, and for being part of this conversation with us about creativity in a time of uncertainty and continuing to tune into the imaginal selves. What more is possible on the other side of this initiation?
Beautiful stated. I love you, Marya.
I love you, Scott. Thank you so much.
You're my best of Fajun.
I will do.
And she has a wonderful long-term partnership with an amazing man who I should have him on this show, actually.
Oh, he would love to be on the show. He's ready.
Oh yeah, let's definitely, I'm gonna text him as soon as we hang up. That's gotta happen. All right, take care, everybody. Have a beautiful, sacred day. God's blessings.
Bye.